There is no question that one rental at a time works. But did you know you could get to 70 units by the age of 28? And I want to remind you, in my book, One Rental at a Time, I didn't have my first unit until I was 30. We're going to talk with Kyle here, who's got 70 units by the age of 28. We're going to find out how he did it, what he's doing, where he's at, all of that good stuff. Kyle, thank you for being here, man.
Yeah, Michael, thanks for having me.
So the first thing I got to ask, dude, is just how'd you do it? I mean, let's just go there. 70 units, big number, 28. So I'm guessing you inherited 65 of them from your great uncle or something?
Unfortunately, not. I actually don't come from a place of wealth. Modest middle class is where I come from. But starting out, I think it's a very underutilized method. And I basically house hacked my first 6 units, 3 duplexes in a row. I was traveling all over the United States, living in California, and it was really the only way that I could go about doing this. I had a good job right out of college, making good money, and I'll kind of get into later how I scaled, which is utilizing the BRRRR strategy. But just starting off, I couldn't manage large construction projects. I had a house hack. So method one, bought a duplex in Wisconsin, side by side duplex. This was back in the end of 2019. Right before the pandemic. So 2019, I bought a side-by-side duplex, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. At that one was 3.5% down, so I utilized FHA, 3.5% down, and 6 months later, fixed up both sides, ended up moving out, and just did it 2 more times. And that's really how I acquired my first 6.
Okay.
And I realized it was kind of a slow burner. I was sitting at, in that time, it took me 14 months to acquire 6 units. And I was just like, I like a lot of people, don't want to work forever, don't want to, work a W-2, have a boss. And I was just like, man, I got to figure something out.
Well,
And
let's
I was
poke it.
go ahead.
Let's poke at that a little bit, because I think
Yeah.
If people have watched my channel for any time, you know that one of the things I would do over if I could is I would house hack um, units, right? I'm not going to be, Todd Baldwin or Spencer Cornelia and do roommates, not my thing, but I could do units. And it's funny you called it a slow burn. I mean, you had 6 units in 14 months. I think most people would consider that ridiculously fast. You got into the first one with 3.5% down. The next two were what, 5% down conventionals, or what were the next two?
Yep. 5% conventionals.
And this came from just living below your means and savings and cash flow, or where'd you find the money?
Right. Yeah. So I was traveling, working 60, 70 hours. And to be honest, for me being young, it was good that I was working so many hours. I didn't have the
You couldn't
time to
spend the
spend the
money.
money. Right. I didn't have the time to spend it. So I just kept saving. And that's how I came about it, is really,
No time
yeah,
to
it wasn't
spend it.
right. It wasn't discipline necessarily. It was just the amount of hours I was working.
Oh, that is hilarious. Would you mind if I ask what you would do? Maybe some college kids are looking at a career making some good money. What were you doing?
Yep. Construction management. So we were working on
Okay.
refineries and power
Oil and
plants,
gas.
things like that. Yep,
Okay.
exactly.
Very, very cool. All right. So 6 units, house hacking, slow burn after 14 months. Where do we go? What happens next?
Came across a BRRRR strategy. I was listening to actually one of my friends. I was traveling to Nashville at the time, and one of my friends told me about Brandon Turner, Bigger Pockets, and that was the beginning of 2020, middle of 2020, and I came
Okay.
across Bigger Pockets, learned about the BRRRR strategy. Did my first hard money. Unit 7 was utilized hard money. Refinanced out of hard money. Obviously, I showed the W-2 income, which was important for that
Yep.
refinance.
Yep.
And just kind of figured out. So, and I have a construction background, so I was able to hire people. I learned how to vet them, put contracts together, and I just kind of scaled from there. And I just kind of kept doubling down on using hard money. And a lot of people don't like hard money because of the risk and the high interest rates, things like that. But for me, it worked. I had a good W-2 income. I had money that it was okay if I had a $5,000 or $10,000 mistake, because I could kind of
Right.
yield that at the time. So basically built my portfolio really off of hard money, renovating, refinancing, and just kind of kept doing that.
So let's poke at that a little bit. So we get to this point six. So three duplexes. What do you think your cash flow was? Just rough, like net cash flow, spendable money at the end of the month with 6 units. What do you
Per
just
unit,
estimate?
about 200 bucks. About 200
So you
bucks.
were so you were making $1,200 cash flow roughly.
Correct.
Now,
Correct.
were
Yep.
you living in one of those units or not?
I was. Yep.
All right, so you really had $1,000, but you were living for free roughly. Is that
That's
fair?
correct. Yep.
Okay. So then you find BRRRR, you try it once. You obviously have a construction background, so one of the largest risks of someone starting is getting ripped off from contractors.
For sure.
Let's talk about that first one. So you find a dump. It's non-financeable. You probably go get a hard money loan. Was it kind of an 80% of purchase, 80% of construction, or what was the first hard money loan?
Yeah, so definitely a dump. It was in Green Bay, Wisconsin. 65% of the ARV, so they'd lend up to 65% of the ARV. All I
Okay.
had to do was have a realtor put a CMA together,
Mm-hmm.
comparable a market analysis,
Okay.
and they would lend up to 65%. And that's why I love the Midwest, is because you can find properties for 50, 60,000, put 20,000 into them. They're worth 100 grand, 110,000, and they rent for 12 to 1300 all day. And that's really what this one was. I bought it for 55,000, put 15,000 into it. The value came back at 115. I left equity into it, which I would advise everyone to do. At least me. I like strong equity position, but also cash flow. Some people like pulling all the equity. I'm not that guy. I left equity in there, positioned myself that one at 70% loan to value, and my cash flow is not great really across my portfolio. My average is about $220 a month, and it's true cash flow. I'm not saying cash flow in the sense of like I don't put money away for maintenance, repairs. I'm talking true cash flow. It's about 200 to $220 a month, but I'm okay with that. I'm leveraged about 72%, and I'm okay with that.
All right. So you try this once. You now you're at 7 units. This obviously worked out. You obviously do it a lot more times. I mean, how many projects were you running at the same time? Because I'm guessing you had multiple going in order to get to 70 units.
Correct. I mean, at some point, you can't go one after the other, right? I mean, at some point, I had to start doubling down. So I got to 9 units, and at that point, I was, a light bulb went off, and I'm like, okay, Kyle, you've done this a few times now. You've done this 3 or 4 times. You can now flip these properties and make money, and you can use them as rentals. I really made a mistake here. That I was like, oh, light bulb moment. Kyle, you are single, leave your job. And that's what I did on a whim. Left my job. Boom.
Oh,
Yep. At 9 units, left my job, had a property under contract with hard money lender. And they didn't put a lot of weight on the W-2 job. A lot of it's just
sure.
asset based. But the refinance people do, the commercial lenders do. So I was, yeah, bought, like, it was at unit 9, and I was gonna flip it, and I knew I could either flip it or use it as a rental. Left my job, was able to flip the property, made 30 grand. And I'm like, this is incredible. I'm gonna be able to do this full time. Let's go get a
Mhm.
rental. Went and got my next single family home rental property. Same situation. Bought it for 60,000. Put about $10,000 into it. Appraised out at 100. Did 75% loan to value, went to a lender, and they're like, yeah, Kyle, you're gonna have to show, like, you only got 10 properties or 9 properties. You're gonna have to show some type of income.
Yeah.
Um, which I was able to go DSCR at the moment. I went
Okay.
DSCR, had a good credit score. So I was able to kind of pivot away from that. And
Okay.
at that point is when I was like, okay, we're gonna leverage hard money. We're gonna start a construction company, because worst case scenario, I needed to show some type of income. So I started my construction company, and that's really where we were able to scale. We started buying 2 or 3 rentals a month, flipping some, had crews. So to be honest, the construction background allowed me to scale. If I didn't have it, I don't really know where I would be. But just having that construction background from management perspective and understanding how to run it, is really what brought me here. Because like you said at the beginning, that's where all the risk is the construction side. Everyone can
Yeah.
run numbers, but the construction side is, it's risky and it's scary if you don't know what you're looking at.
No, absolutely. So the other thing I think that bears acknowledgement here is you had remarkable timing, right? If you started doing
Yeah.
BRRRRs in 2020, 2019, there was probably no better time on the planet, right? You buy something in March, it's worth more in July. I mean, it was just a crazy time. Um, I would argue that starting doing BRRRRs today, you would not have the same amount of success. Would that be fair?
100%. Yep.
So
100%.
so what I mean that's my big bugaboo with BRRRR is it's sold as an easy strategy, and in reality it's an advanced strategy. There are so many different parts. You got to buy it right, you got to repair it right, you've got to run a good book, you've got to get the debt right, whether you're a job. I mean, there's so many places in a market that is going nearly vertical. It's probably one of the best strategies in the world. In a market that's flat, it's going to hurt a lot of people. What do you think?
Yeah. No, I agree. And that's what's, especially in today's market, utilizing the BRRRR strategy, no one's burring a property from start to end in a month. And, a lot of things happen 4 to 6 months.
Yeah.
And the economic dynamic and what's going on with interest rates and the economy, literally in a glimpse of 6 months, everything could change. So your ARV in January and what it's going to be in June or July is completely different. And you're 100% right. For me, I was buying properties in June and I would do a cash out refinance, and the value was 20, 30, 40 grand over what I even estimated at the time. And it didn't even make sense. And
Yeah.
now with the interest rates, then you could pull out a little bit more because I was locking in at, 3, 4%.
Yeah.
But at 7.5% interest rate, the margin for error is so much smaller to be able to BRRRR. And I 100% agree. I think BRRRR is something for someone down the road. Once they've done a few deals, house hacks, even I'm an advocate of putting 20% down. I think it minimizes a lot of risk. I think it's a good place for capital to go. And to be honest, a lot of people just in the, nothing against bigger pockets, but the bigger pockets community, people really aren't talking too much about this BRRRR strategy anymore. I mean, people are still talking about it, but it's not like this gung ho thing that people are like, you have to BRRRR to be able to scale.
Mm. Yeah, again, I think there's timing for everything. I think one of the things, I've been in the game for 22 years, things come and go. It's great to have the skill. You will have BRRRR will have another time in the sun. It's just not today. But that said, the other thing I really took from your story is um, you flipped some, which means I call that chunk money, and you kept some. So is your portfolio today kind of all small residential, singles, duplexes, tris, quads, all that?
Yeah, everything under four units is, I own one 4 unit, and one 3 unit, and everything, or two 3 units. Everything is duplexes and singles.
I love that portfolio. I mean, if I had to do it all over again, that would probably be the portfolio I build. You get the best financing. It's the most liquid. It's the least amount of headaches. When I look at my headache factor, my portfolio is 50-50, kind of above that and below the fourplex line. Gosh, 80 or 90% of my headaches are apartments.
Wow.
And yeah, I would definitely, I mean, if I had to design my portfolio and start over again, it would be all fourplexes. Because again, the financing is just there, eat most liquidity. So that's really cool. So what are you doing today? I'm going to guess you slowed down, or maybe you're flipping more, because the ability to identify deals never goes away, but the exits can change. And I'm going to guess you're not BRRRRing as much today as maybe you were in 21.
It's funny. I can tell your expertise in 22 years. You can just guess, and we've met for a few years, and you already know what I got going on. Yeah, I'm basically flipping only right now. If a good deal comes across and we're able to, buy it outright in cash and just hold on to it for some later times to refinance, we have done that, but only twice so far this year. Everything else we're flipping. We're just building up capital.
Yep.
We've got some strategies towards the end of the year to do some accelerated depreciation so we don't pay so much on taxes.
Mm-hmm.
But right now it's tough. It's tough to BRRRR. It's tough to find rentals that cash flow. It's tough to lock into good debt. So and I say we, so my wife and I, we work together on this.
That's awesome.
We looked at it and we said, hey, why make it tough on us? Why don't we just go flip, build up a
Yeah.
bunch of capital, Like we don't have to make this miserable. We're doing good. So we're just flipping right now.
I think that again, you can't wish for a market. You have to react and operate in the market that you have. And again, what you've really highlighted for me is you have the ability to identify deals and really for not only kind of run the numbers, anybody could do that, but you're managing projects probably to within 10 or 15% of budget most of the time. I'm going to guess you're rarely surprised, although I'm sure it happens to all of us. And that's where you make your money is if you buy it right and get the numbers dialed in, you know, you can easily flip. I don't know Wisconsin at all. Let's pick on Green Bay. What's the median home price in Green Bay, roughly?
I would say just shy of 200,000.
So are you primarily exiting below 200,000 or are you getting gung ho and flipping 400K houses?
Nope, absolutely. I'm a Michael. I'm a base hit guy. I'm a base hit. I'm a volume base hit guy. All my properties valued around 140 to 180,000. We buy them just under 100. We put about 20 to 30 grand into them. So all in plus, we're still using some private lenders, so we have interest on it. All in, we're always right around 100 to 110. We're exiting around 140, 160, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
20, $30,000 nets, we're okay with it. We're able to scale it and it works.
I think you were, I mean, I don't know if you've watched the channel a bunch, but that's what I keep telling folks. I interview multiple people on the channel who now are flipping below the median for their market. One of the guys, Jason Pritchard, his market's median is 400K. He was on the channel in January and talked about some 6-figure losses because the market changed and he got got. He just had a 300K month because he's only doing below the median, right?
That's awesome.
There's a dearth of inventory, FHA buyers, VA buyers, builders aren't building there. If you have the process to find below market value, you find dumps. You have a reputation where you can finance them and the teams or the expertise to do the work. There has never been a better time to flip, below the median properties, even at 7% interest rate. And oh my goodness, if we get to 6%, watch out.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm watching some of these people flipping $1 million homes in Vegas and Tampa, and for me personally, I will never touch it. I'll never touch it. Sure, they're making 200, 300,000 on a flip. It's also taking them 6 to 8 months. For us, it's taking 2 to 3 months, and we're making 20 to 30 grand. And we could sit here and compare what's right, what's not right. I think at the end of the day, you do what you feel, your risk tolerance and what you enjoy. For me, I'm not interested in massive flips. And to be honest, I do my flips just like I do my rentals. The same way I do my flips is the same way I do my rentals, so that I have multiple exit strategies. When you're renovating $1 million house, you have one exit strategy unless you're a short-term rental guy, and hopefully that works out.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think this is really what this next year to 18 months with, rates staying higher for longer. It's about controlling risk, not size. I think a lot of people are flexing on social media, talking about these $1 million homes. Dude, they're going to lose their ass. I've been doing this game a long time. I knew somebody that had a $10 million net worth that lost it all because he refused to take one loss. It can all come crashing down really, really fast. So Kyle, how can people find you, follow you? Again, a 20-year-old with 70 units doing some amazing things, doing it the right way, near as I can tell. How should they follow you?
Yeah, on Instagram, I put out just a lot of free content. That's KJ_root. I just put out free videos and love connecting with people. And so if you ever need anything or like my videos, reach out, and love just meeting people and having good conversations like this one.
Awesome. Again, KJ_root, ROOT.
You got it.
Awesome, buddy. I appreciate you. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you so much.